Hey guys, it's Maris, and today I'm going to be participating in a horror-themed book tag. It's my very first. It was created by HeyLittleThrifter. I originally found her on Instagram because of her amazing horror paper book collection. It's stellar. Their books are they look like from the 70s through to the 90s, and they just have those book designs that you just don't see anymore. There are these very vivid, visceral, emotional illustrations that were always trying to kind of convey to you what the story was about, but also to get your attention. And so a lot of the times the villains or the characters that would end up on the cover always had, I don't know, just some specific feel to them. And I think it's because all of these artists were just, they're just extremely talented. They had their own style, they put their own twist on it, their own kind of flavor onto the characters. And I'm a very visual person, and those things always really spoke to me. So when I saw HeyLittleThrifters account, I just really loved it. I love seeing all of the new books that she's getting all the time. So anyway, she created this tag. It's an open tag, so anyone can do it. So I am very, very new to BookTube land. I don't really know anyone, but if you are into horror or you read horror books or you do anything horror theme related, you are tagged as of this moment. Definitely give HeyLittleThrifters YouTube channel a look. I'll put the link down into the description below. Okay, first question. How and when did you get into horror? Well, I can remember very distinctly my first scary book. It was In a Dark, Dark Room by Alvin Schwartz. I was in kindergarten. It was Halloween. We had a teacher who was reading to us, and this was one of the books. And I remember this book very distinctly because I remember the illustrations were just really compelling. There was like a picture of one character who had really long teeth and a trench coat. But the main story out of that book was about a girl who had a green ribbon tied around her neck, and if she took it off, her head would fall off. And I just loved that story. I just thought that was, I don't know, really cool. So that was my first introduction to horror books or scary books. What was the first horror book that I read? So I guess Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was definitely one of them. But I think maybe like as a teenager, it was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. That was terrifying for me. What horror-related goodness can we expect from your channel? Well, there's a lot of things that I would like to do, and I hope that I do get to do them all. I have done one video where I do a cemetery read, where I go to a cemetery. I live here in Berlin in Germany, so I do want to like visit all of these different cemeteries and just kind of film there, and also take time to read there and just create these little like vignettes. Just there's no talking or anything, just like a, I don't know what you would call it. Just a little vignette. I'd also like to do some book and film comparisons. I do go to some street libraries here in Berlin. There's one called a Bücherbox, which is it's just like a box on the street with books, and you can take one and leave one. I also like to review some PC horror games. I do have designs to make my own little harpy puppet because my channel is called Harpies in the Trees, and I wanted to create a little harpy to be, you know, kind of like my little sidekick while I do some book reviews. Do you have any favorite themes or subgenres within horror? Absolutely. My favorite genre is the traditional Victorian ghost story. The haunted house, the mysterious ghost, the body in the attic, the body in the wall, little breadcrumb trails of some type of dark family secret that the ghost is trying to reveal. I love that. And I know that it's pretty tropey now, and a little bit like when you're reading a story like that, you sort of know how it's gonna go and you have a pretty good idea how it's gonna end. But when it's written in a way where it's moody and it's atmospheric and it's kind of creepy, and it has like maybe some new takes on like what dark secrets could be, I love it. Name an underrated and an overrated horror novel and author. I just started reading again actively and intentionally last December. I hadn't been reading much at all, like just not at all, like maybe 1 or 2 books a year at the most. I was a musician and I was touring a lot and working, and I just didn't really have the time. But something happened to me in December where I was just like, I missed reading. It just like, I don't know, it just hit me like all of a sudden out of nowhere. I'm sorry this is such a bad answer. It's just like I feel like I haven't read enough to really make a really clear statement on that. Recommend 3 of your favorite horror novels. Well, like I said, hadn't been reading for a really long time, but what I will tell you are 3 books that I've read just recently that I really liked, which was A Taste for Monsters by Matthew J. Kirby, The Corset by Laura Purcell, and The Diviners by Lippa Bray. And there's actually a lot more. I've been actually pretty lucky that I've had this small collection of horror books that I actually really enjoyed. Surprise, surprise. Recommend a book for someone who is new to the horror genre. Well, I think I would suggest The Diviners because it is very easy to read. It's super fun. It's not anything that's like super gory or graphic or anything like that, but it has a great story, it has great characters, it's funny, and it also takes place in New York City in the 1920s. And the way that this author builds this world for you, you just really, really want to hang out there for a while. Are there any book to film adaptations that you particularly loved or hated? Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman. That was really good because Dracula for me was a pretty dry read. Coraline I thought was pretty good, even though I wasn't a big fan of the book, just because I thought it echoed Alice in Wonderland too much. The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe I thought was really good. Amityville, the 1970s film, I thought that was pretty good. How do you discover new or new to you horror books? Like everyone else, Goodreads and booktubers, also Instagram. I follow a lot of bookstagrammers, publishers and stuff, and I just save the books that look interesting to me. I'm usually caught by the cover, and then I'll read like, you know, the synopsis and then like what other people are saying in the comments, and then when I want a new book, I kind of just like scroll through there, and then I go to Goodreads and I do a bunch of like research on like what people hated about it and what people liked about it. And for me, most of the time, the most useful information is when people talk about what they hated about the book or what they didn't like, because that gives me, I think, more insight about if I will like or not like this book. What was the last horror book that you bought? It was The Rust Maidens. I absolutely love this cover. I absolutely adore the premise. But I am 100 pages in and I just having a really hard time getting through to it, and I don't want to DNF it because I'm hoping that it gets better towards the end. But this was an Instagram choice. I don't know. I hope it's good. What horror book is at the top of your wish list? So like I said, I use Instagram to store a lot of TBR stuff. And the most recent ones that I saved were Brother by Aria Allborn and House of Salt and Sorrows, which I don't even think has come out yet. But for the moment, the next book after I finish The Rust Maidens is Devil in the White City, which I know it's true crime, it's not horror, but this dude is totally a monster. Like, he has a murder house, you know? Like, it doesn't get any more horror than that, I think. That's it. Those are the 12 questions. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I hope that the weather is nicer because it's getting a little hot. Even in Germany, it gets so hot. If it gets to 90 degrees in the evening, it'll storm like a mother. Like, it's just insane. And like, the thunder here in Germany is so different than in the US. It's rolling thunder, but it sounds like it's underwater. It is bizarre, but it is so cool though. I love it. If you'd like to connect with me on Instagram, or if you want to give me a like or a follow, I would totally appreciate that. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for ghost stories, or Instagram accounts, or, you know, other horror booktubers I should be following. let me know. I'll definitely follow them. All right, so have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.